Hello, Susan, Mona. I'm a little early, I think. I don't know why it says it's waiting on me. My TV's slower, I guess. I'm going to pause this video real quick on my phone so I can see chat. So tonight, in case you can't see, what we're working on for the Blue Heron is we're going to work on these right here, these blocks. I've got 4 of them done. I've actually got another one finished, but I don't have it all put together yet. And as many times as I tried to get the color right, I can't get the color right on the screen. It's more of an orange than that faded whatever color. Hello, Lisa. So it is what it is. I noticed that my mother's quilt on the right looks pink, and if I get rid of that, all the other colors are wrong. So I just quit messing with it. The wall's not that orange yet. I can't get orange in the bird. So what we're going to do today, I actually have an autofocus camera now, right here. And we're going to move a few things out of the way so I can get to, if I need my mouse again, I'll get to it. So what I'm going to do first, first thing I did, excuse me, let me get this book. I went ahead and copied the pages in here, and then I cut them out of the sheets, and I got them to lay all on one. I don't know if you can see, but I've got all the pieces for that block on one sheet. And I'm going to make a little correction about last week as well. My printer actually took the freezer paper in without it being attached to any other paper. Thank you, Mona. Thank you, Susan. And then I cut each section out. And what I did with the other pieces for the block, this piece and this piece, I actually stacked my template on about 6 pieces of fabric. And I cut them all out at once so that I could go ahead and do the starbursts and then get them added. So I've used this Creative Grids roundup tool when I was cutting this, and I was just taking my time, and I would lay it on that paper, right, and get my arc started as I cut with my rotary cutter. And then I would pick it up. I'd hold my rotary cutter where it was, and I'd pick it up and turn it, cut some more, pick it up and turn it, and then finish the cut. Made it so much easier. I did the same thing for the inside of the circle or the inside of the corner. I did the same thing. I laid this down. I cut some of my fabric. Then I moved it until I had that whole arc turned, cut with the rotary cutter. That way I wasn't freehanding, and it came out nice and clean that way. And hello, Karen. So another correction, Susan, when you asked about that dandelion salve, let me get this out of the way because I don't need those yet. I said it needed to sit in a dark place for 6 months. It's only 6 weeks. I thought about it after the live, and I thought I would put that correction there as well as the being able to print directly onto my freezer paper without attaching any paper to it, which makes the freezer paper last longer, actually. I'm going to get a little bit of light in here because as soon as I forget it, it'll start, sun will go behind a cloud or something because, you know, we don't have sunshine for very long. So first thing I'm going to do, since I did 5 with one of these, I need to fold this one and get it ready for this next set that I'm going to sew. I've actually marked them. See if I can get them up there. Dark and light. So I wouldn't forget which fabric, which color went there. You're welcome, Susan. I just got my herb book today that I've been trying to order for months, but nobody had it. And I finally got to order it the other day. Somebody had it. I guess I didn't realize it was a hardback, but that's fine. That'll make it last longer. So I'm going to fold all my lines before I start. It'll just make it much easier. I may have to turn this one overhead camera or light on that is right above my cutting mat. Even though I had eye surgery, you know how old eyes are. Can't hardly see. If anybody is wondering, I have put Marnae's YouTube page. It's pinned at the top along with her GoFundMe. I cried at her last video. Again, I've cried every video I've watched since the fire, so. And her husband is done all the cleanup already and getting ready to start building, which is awesome. And now if she goes out there, she doesn't have to see all that. It's bad enough that she's reminded anyway. So I did mark them dark and light, even though it's orange. I cut my strips. The first time I did it, I cut my strips not wide enough. They needed to be at a minimum of 3.5, and I guess I read my ruler wrong. Sorry. And I cut them at 3 inches. So I was going sideways down my strip. But I cut my strips at 3 3/4 this time, and I made sure I was actually on 3 3/4. Let's get my iron hot. And that way I can just lay the strip on. Yep, gotta have my light. Sorry if it gets too bright. Maybe remove that ruler. So I was kind of a mess today. I dropping cameras and things all over the place. Made a mess all over my desk about 2 hours ago while I was trying to set up this new camera. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew this. I'm going to guess my 1/4 inch and add my gold. And then get it sewn. Well, maybe I'm not. Guess I'm going to iron it. I did move that other camera. Hold on. Did move that other camera. Oops. Yeah, that's right. Over here to my ironing station. It's not a very good view, but At least it's there, right? But when I made a mess, I dropped that camera on the floor, knocked everything off my shelf. Yeah, I made a mess. I had to clean it all up before I could even get started. And that was just trying to get this camera in place. I had knocked everything down doing that. So, but it's all good. Don't know. Needs to come up this way. I don't have one on my sewing machine. Probably not going to get any more cameras now that I've got the overhead one that does an autofocus. So maybe this will help. You can see where I sew right next to the, sometimes I touch the paper, but I don't worry about it too much. And then I'll flip that out, give it a good finger press. I probably should have trimmed that 1/4 inch first. My mother and I got to a little bit of an argument today over the neighbor's cat. Coming over here, I thought my dog was going to go through the window. Yeah. I let the dog out on the porch, and the dog successfully treed the cat without ever leaving the porch. But I couldn't hardly get her back in the house. So, yeah, it does, Susan, because I was having trouble keeping track, so I had to mark it with the dark and the light, so I knew which fabric I was using. Now, when it comes to cutting them here on this arc, I'll probably just go real slow and cut it as I go, and then once I'm finished, I'll cut 1/4 of an inch away from the curves using that ruler. Oh, right there's my 1/4 inch. But for now, I'll just leave it hang over a little bit. Just take my time around it and get ready for the next, which is dark. That way I don't forget. But I was going to put a lighter fabric between nope, wrong camera. I was going to put a lighter fabric between this block and the Heron, right? Well, I didn't like the gray, so I just went ahead and cut these pieces. Well, then I was thinking I might have enough of this, which actually will look pretty good. I only want like a 1/2 inch. I just want this like a little bit like this to show. And the only problem with that, I'm going to have to recut these pieces. Both side pieces and both top and bottom pieces. Because these are cut to make sure once they're all sewn together, it'll line up on all the ends there, that across and down the sides. So I would have to add I think another 1/2 inch, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's get back to that one. Now I still have a hard time connecting these arcs, right? I have a hard time, and I'm on the wrong camera. Hold on. There we go. Nope. I still have a hard time connecting these. It's easy to do, but everybody does it different, and I just find myself folding this in half, finding the center of this piece and this piece, and then I pin the caboodle out of it. Right, I've got pins everywhere, and I have done it without pinning before, but I just found it easier to go ahead and pin. Make sure I have 1/4 inch, which I do, so I don't need to trim that. I just need to, I always fold my paper out because it's going to go to the iron next, and then finger press. It always seems like it's wrong when I do it this way, but it's not, because this is actually coming to a point here, and instead of the wide, and I tend to forget that. So then I'll take it over here to the, there we go, take it over here to the iron, and I'm just going to press it up to that light area, not on the next section. And then usually I'll flip it over and make sure that's laying right. Give it one more little press. It doesn't take much, and then it's stuck to the paper just fine. So my next fabric is the light, so we're going to fold it and go ahead and get our 1/4 inch seam cut. That's not enough for another section, so I'll just throw that away. And then I'm going to trim this. That way I don't sew all of it. And get my next section. Hold on 1 minute, please. Testing. Can you hear me now? My microphone was having a moment. Hopefully you can hear me. I had muted it, but I had turned it back on. But now it's working. I guess I should have looked at it. It was blinking. Well, I didn't think he was going to be done with the gates this quick, so I wasn't expecting a phone call from him right now. I assumed it'd take him longer to finish the gates. But as I was saying, once I get done with these, you'll see why I don't sew through the paper. It just much easier if I don't. It might, no, yeah, no, whatever. Just sew it on there, Peggy. But I told him I'd call him back after my live. I realized after I turned my microphone back on that it didn't actually come back on, even though I told it to. Yeah. And I did, I don't know if you guys heard this, but I did take something for my allergies today, even though it's not really working. My head is still hurting. And I've still got some of a cough from the sinuses draining. The night before last was horrible. I couldn't get to sleep. So it was like 7 in the morning before I got to sleep. Well, I put that on totally wrong. That's all right. Get that trimmed up. Trim this off a little bit. Hello, Gladys. So we're close to finished on this one arc already. And then we'll try our hand at putting one together. It's going to be a lot of pinning on my end, but that's okay. I always forget which one, is it convex or concave, that they say you should have on top, and everybody does it different. So I can't really remember. One of them is supposed to be. Get that one pressed. We haven't had sunshine in a month or more, and today we have some. We had a little bit yesterday too. So we've got the light done. So we'll, excuse me, we'll trim this up. And again, trying to save as much fabric as possible. Because, you know, fabric's not cheap, so you want to save every little bit that you can. Trim this off a little bit. Get that little point off. I had to dump my trash because somebody's dog kept getting in. That's still not sticking. I think I pulled it off, so we'll press it again. And we'll get the blue in again. I have this blue and one more orange. And then one more blue. And we'll have this arc finished. Flip it over. Give it a good finger press. Try not to stretch it. I kept thinking you had a live last night, Gladys, and I had to go back over to your channel and go, where's she at? That's next week. Not this week. Go ahead and cut that. Nope. Need to cut it here. Almost cut it the wrong line. Then I'd have been wasting fabric for sure. Put it right there. Cut my little corner off. Take my time and trim this. I did finally find a brace for my arm that is a compression brace that will slide on, that I don't have to try and tighten with one hand because I can't. Pretty obvious with the last brace, so hopefully that'll help my bicep. Moved a little bit. Oops. Yep, got my fabric folded. That would have been ugly. And I'm going to try not to stay on too long tonight. I'll probably show how to put one of these arches together, and that'll probably be it for tonight. I don't know whose dog pulls fabric out. I know she thinks she's helping, but she's not, because then I have to pick up all this fabric. Try and get this. I don't waste fabric. Get my 1/4 of an inch. And then trim carefully. Dog ear off. And one more piece of the dark blue. And then I'll show you my how I do it with that one ruler. Hello, Linda. A little warm in here, probably because it's nice outside. I should probably, let me turn this fan on. Maybe that'll help. don't really want to take my sweater off because the moment I take my sweater off, you know I'll get cold. So if I just turn the fan on for a little bit, might help circulate that air. Oh yeah, that feels better. All right. This is the last piece, and get it pressed down. And now we're going to trim this 1/4-inch seam right here. This is the last piece. Make sure. I've actually been giving myself just a little bit of a generous 1/4 inch, like one more stitch, right? I'll just peel that paper off and throw it away. Now I'll go get my other ruler and show you how I do this arc. Okay, so I need to trim it along this line here. So this here is 1/4 inch, so I need to trim it along this line, and then I need to trim it along this line here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this ruler up along that line, find a nice area on it. It's not made for this, but it works. Need to get back up there a little bit. Do a little bit. Turn my ruler. Do a little bit more. Turn my ruler. A little more. Turn my ruler. Now I'm going to have to move it down this way a little bit. And then that cut right along that edge. And then we'll do the same on the inside with the smaller side of this ruler. And I'll just start cutting until I need to turn, and then I'll turn the ruler. And again. Sorry if my head gets in the way, but I need to see my line. And again, and off. And you can see I didn't get all of it. I like to get it as accurate as possible because when you sew it together, it's going to make all the difference, right? All right, we're done with this, so we can put this up. And this is the reason. This right here is the reason I don't sew through my paper. So I'm just going to fold my fabric a little bit. Roll it around a little bit so it'll loosen it up. Get it started to come off this freezer paper. And I'm going to hold the freezer paper down, and I'm going to gently pull this away from that freezer paper so I'm not putting any stress on the seams. Now the more you use the freezer paper, the less its grip is going to be. And now I can reuse that. Hello, Charlotte. So we have this done. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get one of these. And then I'll get one of these. Feels like two, but there's only one there. All right. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold it in half I'm going to fold this one in half first. So I'm going to line up my side edges here like this, and I'm just going to finger press it, and it will make a mark right in the center of that for me. And I have found so far that the point of this star is actually the center on top. So I just been worrying about the bottom, right? So I don't know if you can see it, but there's a line there where I finger pressed it now. And I'm going to do the same thing to both of these pieces. I'm going to fold this piece over. And I only need a finger press up here at the top. I'm going to just run my nail on it, and there's my finger press. And we're going to do the same on this one. This one's a little trickier. You want it at the point. You want to line up the bottom there to get the center. And I just need it right there at the bottom. And there's the fold on that one. So we're going to set this one aside. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pin and I'm going to stick it right to the right of that fold. And right to the right of this fold in about the same location. And make sure it's straight up and down, just like when we piece the heron. And then I'm going to bring it over and pin it. And then I'm just going to line these up. There is a way to do it without all this pinning. I just find I have better success if I pin. And less folding of things. I always find it's a little harder on one side to pin than the other. But that's because you're used to doing things a certain way, right? Get it lined up. Stick another pin in it. Well, it's not a race, so no big deal. Get it lined up. Stick another pin. One more pin. Sorry. So I know that's a lot of pins. That's only half of it, though. I got to do the other side yet. But it gives me the best results. So I'm going to go out a little bit. Stick a pin. And I go real slow when I'm sewing, too. Just to make sure everything's going okay. Plus, I have all these pins. I'm not running. I don't sew over my pins. And get that lined up. Another pin. We're almost done with the pins. I think one more. And then I'm going to hold it right there while I take it to the machine. I don't have a camera aiming at the machine. I can't figure it out without knocking something over. I forgot I want needle down right now so that when I stop, the needle stays down. And I'm always making sure nothing's wrinkled underneath because I don't want to take any stitches out. And then I'm just taking the pins out as I go. Trying to keep my 1/4 inch seam all the way around. I almost ran over that pin. And I'm not even going fast. Alright, last pin. It actually didn't take very long. So it kind of looks like this when you get it all done. And I'm going to actually fold it, just open it up and just kind of let it fall because it's going to go that way anyhow. And I'm not going to press hard. I'm just going to give a little finger press to it. And I'm going to lay it over here and I'm just going to hold the iron on it to begin with because I've already kind of told it where to go, even though it wanted to go that way. And I've already starched my fabric. So there's that. Yeah, it's not completely rounded there, but you know what? It's okay. Now, if you remember, I said this tip is the center, so I'm going to take my folded fabric and I'm going to line it up right there, and I'm going to put a pin in it. And then work my way one way and then back around the other way. Try and not wrinkle anything up. I can feel it if it tries to wrinkle. And I thought this book said they finished at 6 inches. They're not finishing at 6. They'll finish at 5.5 because when I go to square them up, they're less than 6.5 inches. So I don't know what they're talking about because I used her templates out of this book. I guess it's a good thing I have a lot of pins, right? And after we pin this side, we'll go and pin the other side. Go in the other direction. Put that one in kind of close there. Now we'll go the other way. This is the direction that's harder for me, just because of how I pin. I'm left-handed. You'd think it'd be easier for me this way, right? Using my left hand for the pin. But I'm left-handed when I write and draw, but everything else is right-handed. So this is actually harder. I cut with my right hand, like used to throw a ball with my right hand. Everybody's like, you should have a left-handed mitt. No, but you're left-handed. Yeah, but I don't catch and throw the ball that way. I throw with my right hand. They're like, that's so weird. My dog is afraid I'm going to abandon her, I guess. She's right underfoot again. She's sleeping, though. Can't believe how big she's gotten. I'm going to take a guess, say she's probably a little bit over 50 pounds now. A lot bigger. All right, now that's all pinned. I know that looks like a lot of pins, but it turns out a pretty decent block. And I'm not in a hurry, so But I've done what she said in the book, and I don't know why it's not turning out, because I've been real careful about my seams, but it just not, unless I misread it, I don't know. That's okay. And I want to make sure when I'm doing this that I keep that top fabric from bunching up, because it kind of wants to on this one. So I try to keep it from doing that. I just pull the fabric out a little bit. At least the allergy medicine is helping, which is a good thing. It's just all this week has been a pretty bad week. All the way around. So you can see what I mean about it wanting to bunch up. All the wrinkles here. It's wanting to bunch up while I'm sewing. So if I just tug it out a little bit, I might, like right there, I might have a crease, but I think it'll press out. But if I just do that while I'm sewing where it's pinned, it'll pull that pucker out. So I'm just going to lay it over. I'm not going to mess with the seam width. I'm just going to lay it over and lightly finger press it, because it's all on the bias and I don't want it to stretch out of whack. And I just want to get it pressed down there a little bit. On the edges, it may be a little harder. And then I'm going to lay my iron on it. Press it out. Now that it's pressed, there we go. So you see we have these tails hanging over. This is hanging over. What do I do with it? And then I'm going to take my 6.5 inch block, square ruler, actually. And I need it to be 6 inches. But what I'm going to do when I start here, I'm going to come out a little further than, no, I need to go this way, a little further than 6 inches, right? And I want to make sure that I line my diagonal line up here. Hold on. See if I can pick it up this way. Oh, we should have put it on another mat. That's all right. So I want my diagonal line to run from this corner right down this center line that we pressed, right? And then right down the center where I press it again to here. And I'm actually going to line up my 6 inch line on the edges, because on these edges right here, because I want it 6 inches right there. That way I don't lose any of this seam allowance that is here or here. Sorry. So when that looks good, I'm just going to hold it. And I'm only going to trim off these two sides. Yep, it moved a little, so I'm going to fix that. Okay. And now that I have that done, I'm going to pull that little bit I trimmed off. And I'm going to turn it And I'm going to put my 6-inch mark on these two sides now, because it's going to finish at 6 inches. And that way, now when I trim it, I still have my 1/4-inch seam. Oops. I still have my 1/4-inch seam. Hold on. I'm still going to have my 1/4-inch seam here and here without cutting into that orange. So I'm going to hold it again. Trim that. And then trim this. It probably would have been easier if I'd have got my rotating table, or cutting mat, but it's actually bigger than this one, and it just kind of not as helpful by the sewing machine. So there's this block. So let's go put it on this quilt. So this is going to go here. I don't blow them all around, Peggy Lynn. There we go. Now we've only got 7 more of those to make and sew together. And I think where is what piece? The one I just finished, I just put it up there. Is that what you meant? Thank you. I think I am going to add I'm going to cut a piece. I'm thinking, you guys, you're probably going to think I'm crazy, but I'm thinking if I cut a strip at 3/4 of an inch, that'll leave me 1/4 of an inch of that light blue all the way around the heron. And then that'll kind of frame in that heron, and then the dark around it. But I'll just have to recut those side and top and bottom pieces. Now what I kind of wanted to do was something like this, but I didn't like it because they're square. So I had made 2 of these, and I didn't like them because they're square and not rectangle, right? And I was going to alternate them down the side. What I was going to do, I could actually probably do that in this. Just do 1 strip. So, I have extra orphan blocks now because I decided not to go with those because I wanted rectangle and not square. Hello, Nancy. Thank you, Karen. But I don't think I'm going to do that now because I've already cut my pieces. And I think it would look, I don't know. I think this blue is what needs to go. About 1/4 of an inch of it showing around the edge. Let's see if I can get it in there. Give about 1/4 of an inch showing. So if I did this all the way around, between the blue and the heron. Do that light blue that's, I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me point at it. Right here. Do 1/4 inch of this all the way around it before I add those pieces I've just made. Think it'd take away from it. Just leave it to dark. Yeah, it's been going back and forth in my head. Do I want to do it? Do I not? Do I want to do it? Do I not? So last night I cut the other pieces, right? But it'll have 2 more starbursts in the bottom, or New York Beauties at the bottom. And after that, I don't know where I'm going with it. I don't know. I haven't decided what kind of design to go. I just knew I wanted some New York Beauties around the corners. Well, I was thinking so. I was thinking it'd make the heron stand out a little more if I did that light blue, just 1/4 inch showing. So it'd be a 3/4 inch piece that I'd cut and then go all the way around the heron and then add the New York Beauties. And if I had to add more to the to these pieces, so these pieces are cut so that once they're attached to these on either end, it's gonna, I've already done the measurements, and I've got enough that it will make it even right here and right here after I get the other block made. Same with these pieces are made so that once these are all sewn together, they'll all be even. I hear you. So I would have to adjust for it if I put a strip in it. I hear you, Piper. She's a talker, by the way. She likes to talk to you. Well, I think that's all I'm going to do for today. And I think next week we'll be back with the iris quilt, binding it. I'm going to get the last 2 borders on it, and then we can get it bound. So I've already got 2 borders on it. Then I can get it bound and get it down off the design wall for good. Get it washed and folded and put away. So that's all I have for today, ladies. You guys have a good weekend. See you next time. Bye.